So, this message is for a very highly in tune and spiritual, self aware, and conscious collective, which, for the most part, that is who I tend to bring in to my energetic field. But this specific message is for those of you who have always felt like, either from many years before, or many months before the collective goes through something, it's like you're the one who actually goes through it first. So you're basically like, you anchor in frequency and timelines, which is like a very important role in this, on this planet. Like, obviously all roles are, but like, to anchor in a frequency just so a certain timeline can happen, like, it's hard. Like, it's hard to be the first to go ahead and do that, right? Because you're doing it for the collective, not just for yourself. So, for example, and I feel like if you're a part of this, back in 2020, when there were so many things changing in people's lives, like people were losing jobs, ending relationships, there were like massive shifts in the world and also in society. For most people, they went through massive, massive shifts. You probably didn't. And I'm not saying that it didn't affect you, but compared to everyone else, it was a lot smoother for you to go through it. In fact, you might have been like, yeah, bring it on. Like, I've been waiting on this. And that's because you've already anchored in that timeline then, and you're already doing months and years before the preparation of what the collective was going to go through during that time. You're already like, yeah, I got this. You didn't even know consciously. Like, you don't know. Obviously, a lot of the time, we're not aware that we have these gifts until we start seeing the pattern. So, like I said, you are going through a lot of the things that the collective at the time was going through, but you already did the work, right? You were just kind of like, fine, people can catch up and wake up and see the truth for what it is. So while everyone's life was quote unquote crumbling and changing and they were going through massive transformations, you were kind of like coasting and just being like, all right, well, I'm here for it. You're basically holding the frequency, making sure that it doesn't get too chaotic. And that's what I'm actually now getting right now, that wow, that's like, that's an important role. You weren't part of the chaos during that time. And what I mean by that, again, is if you think about when people go through a lot of changes and upheaval and transformative things in their life, especially ones that they don't expect to happen, and it's almost happening to everyone that they know, it creates obviously a lot of chaos, anxiety, fear in themselves. And therefore, when you think about it, when there's a lot of people that go through that, we're all affecting each other, but you're the one that doesn't get affected. You're like a stabilizer. You hold the frequency. So you go through that own transformation so that you can at least understand what the collective is going through. And then you anchor in the frequency just so you can help shift the collective and society in the right timeline. Instead of it getting too crazy and chaotic, you're like, it's like the vision that I'm getting, it's like walking. I mean, I'm for whatever seeing just like the city. And if you can just imagine with me, it's like there's smoke and fire and like everything looks very chaotic and devastating. And people are panicking. And you are like walking through this city, calm, collected, stabilizing the frequency so that you're affecting others. Even if they're still panicking and freaking out, they're still being affected by your energy, right? And by the way, this isn't just for one person, right? Obviously, I'm like speaking to a collective. So this is like quite a few people have this role, which is great because we need quite a few people to be holding a certain energy and frequency to be able to shift the timelines and anchor down a frequency so that other people can, like, we help other people to get to a neutral set point, right? In the midst of chaos, even if it doesn't look like it and even if it doesn't feel like it, it is happening on an energetic level, which is actually why we got out of that in a pretty, I'm going to say, in a pretty smooth way. And of course, everyone's had their own experiences, and that even could be very triggering that I'm saying that in a pretty smooth way. I get it, because everyone got through. And I'm not saying that it's like we're on the other side and it's like beautiful and blah blah blah. No, but there are waves to this, right? And transformation can't just like completely happen overnight. And okay, I'm just, there's something downloaded into me that I just understood now. So, for example, when 2020 and during that time when, you know, a lot of us were like, yes, people are finally going to see the truth and people finally are going to like open up their eyes. Not like, not everything obviously was coming out. And some people, like everyone's waking up at different times, right? But that's because you can't just open everything and have, for a lot of society, be like, to see all the truths, right? To cast all the light on the shadows, because it actually does a lot more harm than good, because it's like they get so traumatized, people get so shocked if they were to find out too much out, where it would just not do good, right? And what the download I got to that was, if you think of your journey, especially of the dark night of the soul, which most likely this collective that I'm speaking to, you had actually a major dark night of the soul the last couple of months. And I'll explain the reason why. But if you think back to that dark night of the soul that you were having, it wasn't just one night. It was like a few months and a few weeks that you were going through this dark night of the soul. And if you think about how much you were transmuting and clearing, it wasn't done in one day. It was done over a course of a couple of weeks or a couple of months, where it was like you were getting spoon fed your transformation, because every time you went through like releasing certain traumas and pains and etc., you had to recalibrate your system. And once that recalibrated and you integrated that, then it was like the next one. And it was like pretty fast how it was happening to you. Still considering, like, it was pretty fast and it was a lot of work. But you didn't get handed it like all at once. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like a one day thing. It wasn't like a few hours and bam, you're done, right? Like, however many weeks you went through this death and rebirth process, it wasn't just a few hours, one day. No, it was like extended over a couple of weeks or a couple of months, because you had to recalibrate your system and integrate everything that you were going through. And in the end, you come out like a very transformed person, right? So in a way, if you think about it, that's exactly what society and the earth is doing right now. Yes, it looks like and it feels like it's taking longer, but again, we have to work with what majority is ready for. So going back to the death and rebirth process that you were in, and it was like very intensive, and it kind of reminded you of what everybody was going through back in 2020. It's like you didn't, but you got to like, you basically kind of get to experience it now, but don't think about it like going backwards. It's not that like just because society went through that and you didn't, and now you're going through it because you didn't at that time. It's not like that. It's not like you actually already went through your own stuff and recalibrated before society did, and you're just anchoring in that timeline and that frequency to help stabilize while there is so much chaos in the world. So this most recent one that you just had, if you think about it, and you're the one to go in first to integrate what society will be going through, like you're one of the first ones, that's what's happening. There's going to be even more people like waking up, and there's going to be, most likely, and I just feel this, I don't know what, something that happens that again shakes things up. And when that happens, you've already done your work, and now you're anchoring in and you're holding a specific timeline to help everyone move into that. You anchor in and you hold, stabilize the frequency and timelines. Like, that's huge. Like, you definitely are a healer of some sort. And you can use whatever tools you want, but you're definitely a healer in this world, but also on an energetic level where it's like you don't even realize that your energy alone, without you really being conscious and aware, does a lot, because you have held this stabilizing frequency. And I want you to think about, like, yeah, every time you have entered a room and there is tension in it, haven't you noticed that the tension dissipates? It stabilizes. I'm not saying that it completely goes away. Sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on the people in it and how many, but it tends to simmer down and stabilize. I want you to think about that, because I am almost certain that there were many times where you've noticed that yourself. It's like you walk into a room and you could feel, because you're that sensitive to the energy in there, and you could tell that, there was something happening, and you got in there and almost immediately it's like, whoa, everything stabilized, everything kind of simmered down, people cooled off, or even sometimes people just still, you can't, like, if you can't affect them, it's like they walk away because they get repelled by your stabilizing frequency if they can't recalibrate their system to you. That makes sense. But yeah, you have a very important role. And from what I have been getting, like the last couple intuitive downloads, is that's what we're going through right now. We are expanding our frequency in our energetic field because there's only going to be more of things that are happening that will destabilize a lot of people and like society, where we're going to have to anchor in and hold a certain frequency to help people move to a certain timeline, right? So, yeah, like just know how powerful your energy is. And that's why I'm just getting this now. That's also why like animals really like you. Animals and kids. If you ever noticed, animals and kids always come to you. And you've probably had always like this intuitive, and you always, like, you had an intuitive relationship with animals, but you've always really liked having animals around you because they're also stabilizers. They're also stabilizers of frequency within households, but they also do that collectively with other animals and also other human beings that have that role. Like, yeah, they, at times when you're going through like these very chaotic and dense energies, if you've noticed, animals come towards you whether you have pets or not because they're helping you stabilize. So that's what you do to the collective, to society. You help stabilize the frequency. And so make sure, because you're probably at this point where you've come out of the dark night of the soul, you've done a lot of healing, a lot of death and rebirth. Right now, it's a really good time to immerse yourself in nature and to ground, because that will what will help your body to just recalibrate after all the work, after all the healing work that you have done. I saw 1822. Again, 22 my number, and 18 if it might be somebody else's number. But yeah, go out to nature, ground. And it's interesting because there was a previous channeled reading that I did about going to nature. And so it's really interesting how consistent that message is of like, go out to nature because it'll help ground you and restabilize you and bring you back into balance after all the work that you have done. But also that there are certain messages for you in nature, and you'll only receive them when you are in nature. You will receive the next inspirational thing, whatever that like missing thing that you're like wondering about, you will receive that in nature. So make sure you spend a lot of time now in nature, and yeah, come back to yourself and just tune in and listen in to what nature and the elements want to tell you, because they truly are aware And if we make the time to spend in nature and communicate with nature, I'm telling you, I've experienced this on my own. Like, nature talks back. And quite quickly, when you start to accept this relationship with the elements, like, telling you, life becomes magical. Anyway, yeah, I feel like the message is complete here. Yeah, it's just about understanding the role that you have, one of the roles, one of the energetic soul imprint roles that you came in here. Because, by the way, you were doing this since you were a child, and you're always stabilizing frequencies, like since you were a child. I swear, like, memories will probably start coming back to you of like, oh yeah, I was always stabilizing the energy in my family, at school, or amongst people. Yeah. And that's literally a role that you still have now. So just know that whenever you're going through these really big, big transformative things, or you're feeling a lot of grief or sadness or anger, most of the time, like, yeah, that could be yours, but most of the time it's probably the collectives and what you're here to transmute through you to help stabilize the energetic field around others. So, important role. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to end this here because this feels complete. Let me know how this resonated with you. Like, please let me know if you actually are starting to remember these memories of, like, oh yeah, I always walked into a room and the energy shifted and changed. Like, it got more lighter instead of dense. Let me know. Anyway, I'm going to end this here. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.